Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the new Mattel Watchmen Rorschach figure. The end is nigh. Actually, it's just beginning for the Watchmen, because back at San Diego Comic-Con, Mattel announced that they were going to be releasing a brand new line of action figures based on the Watchmen, and these would be done in their familiar DC Universe Classic style. A very cool thing for fans of the Watchmen to finally get some really well done action figures of the characters as they appeared in that graphic novel. So the line has kicked off with Rorschach, one of the more famous characters from the Watchmen book. So as you can see, the figures come in this outer shipper box, which a lot of the product from Matty Collector comes in. It has the Doomsday Clock image right there on the front, and then it does say the figure's name on the bottom. The side of the box even has a really cool Rorschach design in yellow and black. Now what's really cool is what's inside that shipper box, because that is the actual packaging that houses the figure within. And what's really unique about this is that it is done in a style that looks like the Watchmen book. You can see the front of it looks like the cover to the Watchmen graphic novel. It's got that familiar smiley face eye with the blood splattered on it, and then it has the figure's name down on the bottom. On the spine of the book packaging, we have this really cool new artwork of Rorschach done in that familiar yellow and black style. And then you can see on the back, the words Watchmen are being spelled. Again, it makes me wonder if the back of everybody's package is going to be slightly different, so that if you lined them all up, you'd spell the entire title. So I guess time will tell on that. So as you can see, in between there, the plastic is kind of meant to look like pages, and it just opens up like kind of like a clamshell packaging, pops open, and then that reveals the figure within. We've got the figure housed on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, we've got an oversized trading card featuring that new artwork of Rorschach. So let's go ahead and take a look at that first. It's just taped into the left side there, and it's in a little plastic sleeve. When you remove that, it is a harder piece of cardboard there, so it's kind of like a larger, thicker trading card. The front of it just has that really cool image of Rorschach, and then the back of it's got a bit of a bloody motif, and it gives you some backstory on Rorschach's character. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the action figure himself. Now, since this is done in that 6-inch DC Universe Classic style, there are some used parts on this that were previously used on the DC Universe Classics version of The Question. Now, that makes total sense, considering The Question was originally intended to be the character used in Watchmen, and then it developed into Rorschach over time. So, makes perfect sense because their styles are similar, but there are differences in the sculpt too. First of all, you can see that Rorschach's got this very cool new closed jacket, and it's really cool because if you look at some of the details on there, you'll notice that there are 3 buttons and one of them is missing, and there's a piece of little thread sculpted on there. Very cool. It's kind of got that rough, kind of torn up look that Rorschach has in his outfit. The jacket is kind of a lighter brown, but it definitely has some nice dark shading going on there. You can see also sculpted along with it is the little scarf that he wears around his neck. And then his face sculpt there just has that white mask with the black Rorschach pattern on the front. It is just kind of done in this all white style there. There's a little bit of shading differential in there. And you can kind of see the features of his face underneath the mask. You can see the ears sculpted on, the nose, and the eye sockets. And then on top of his head, of course, is his fedora hat, which is just part of the head sculpt. It is non-removable. The paint job on the figure is really crisp, really clean all the way through. Like I said, there is a good amount of shading in there, and if you look down at the shoes, it's kind of got the same detailing going on. Definitely gives him a little bit of a gritty look, which he definitely should have. But another thing I like about this is that the colors are very comic booky, so he does look as he appeared in the actual graphic novel. So as far as the articulation goes on this guy, the coat that he's wearing is non-removable, but it is made of a softer kind of rubbery type of plastic. So that will help with some of the articulation, but it does get in the way a little bit. So let's take a look. His head is able to both turn left and right. It does kind of rub against the collar of the coat though. He does have the ball joints in the arms, so his shoulders can move up and down, move the arm forward backwards, swivels in the bicep, standard elbow joint, swivels at the wrists. He does have the torso joint under his coat, but the coat does hinder the movement a little bit. But the waist twist does still work fine. If you grab the legs, you can turn them at the waist. This is where the coat really gets in the way, though. The legs can only slightly move forward and backward and don't really spread outwards hardly at all, because the coat does really hinder the movement. But you do still have the thigh cut articulation, so you can twist the legs. You have the single joints in the knees, and then the feet are able to move slightly up and down via the little ankle peg. So you're not going to get a lot of dynamic poses out of Rorschach, but he is still posable, so you can still get some nice little walking poses or just standing cool poses. One thing that's also going to help with this is the figure does include a figure stand, which is going to be a familiar theme we see throughout all of these Watchmen figures. You can see it's just made to resemble the Watchmen logo, has one peg on there for his foot, so you can plug that into his left foot there, and that way it'll kind of help keep him balanced on your shelf. He doesn't necessarily need the figure stand, as he balances good without it, but it's always cool to have nice little figure stands included with your action figures. The last accessory is Rorschach's familiar little gas-powered harpoon gun that we saw him use in the graphic novel. This is a very cool accessory. It's nice and oversized. It's got a lot of painted detail on there too. You can see blacks and grays are used in the main design. The little harpoon piece sticking on the end has got a nice little gold plastic paint on there. And then he even has the little rope hanging down, which is also colored its own unique brown. So it's nice to see lots of paint differential on the actual accessory here. He can hold it best in his right hand. It's got a more closed grip to it, so he definitely holds much tighter onto the gun with the right hand, but you can get it positioned in the left hand. It is just a little bit of a looser fit. You can kind of get a little two-handed pose out of him, but because of the way that the jacket lays over him, it is a little harder to get his arms together to do a two-handed pose. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Now unfortunately I don't have a DCUC question figure to stand them side by side with, but this is the DC Direct version of Rorschach that was released after the live action movie. It's the only other Rorschach figure that's been made, and it's gonna really show you the difference between the movie style and the comic style. While they were very similar, of course the DC Direct version had a lot more realism going on in the paint job with the coat and everything. But one thing that's really great about this new version is his articulation is a lot better. The DC Direct ones were pre-posed, and so Rorschach was always kind of stuck on that walking pose, and he had balance issues. So it's kind of neat getting to see these two side by side here. So there you go, guys. There's a look at the brand new Watchmen Rorschach figure from Mattel. I'm very excited about this line, actually. I was a big fan of the Watchmen graphic novel, also loved the Watchmen film, so I think it's really great that we're finally getting a line of really well done action figures based on the original comic. I think it's very cool that we're getting some of these characters, and Rorschach being one of my favorites from the story, he's a great one to start off the line. Now, this figure is part of the Club Black Freighter subscription on Matty Collector, and was also available on MattyCollector.com on January 15th, and he sold out immediately. So, if you want to grab this guy and you're not subscribed, you're going to have to find alternate routes. So, happy hunting, and until next time. Rorschach's Journal. Tonight, a hero died in the city. Also, I got a pretty sweet action figure from Mattel.